Fourth graders, today we're going to start talking about immigration a little bit because our next story really needs us to understand what happens during immigration process and what it is, why people would do it. So we're going to watch this video from History Channel, and then I'm going to ask you some questions and we're going to kind of talk through some things. So we're going to go ahead and watch this video.
An estimated 40% of Americans are descended from immigrants that passed through Ellis Island. That's a lot of Americans. The first Ellis Island immigration station opened on January 1st, 1892 in New York Harbor to manage the increasing number of migrants coming to America. In that first year, a record number of nearly 450,000 people passed through to enter the United States. By the time Ellis Island closed in 1954, that number had reached 12 million, although most of those people arrived by 1924. Migrants fleeing poverty and persecution or just looking to start a new life traveled by private steamship from Eastern and Southern Europe. Voyages could take 1 to 2 weeks. Ships divided passengers by wealth and class. First and second class passengers slept in staterooms and cabins while everyone else stayed in a space at the bottom of the ship called steerage. Steerage passengers paid around $30 per ticket, but steamship companies would sell as many tickets as they could. First and second class passengers paid even more. Because of this, steerage was often overcrowded and unsanitary, with shared sleeping compartments and no privacy. But hopeful immigrants stuck it out, believing it would be worth it for a chance to live in the United States. When ships finally arrived in New York Harbor, health officers boarded and looked for signs of disease before anyone was allowed to disembark. Healthy first and second class passengers were processed on the spot and allowed to enter the United States without setting foot on Ellis Island. Everyone else waited, sometimes for days, for small ferries to take them to the immigration station for processing. Migrants walked down the gangplank with all of their belongings and dropped their bags in the baggage room on the ground floor. They then continued up a winding staircase to the registry room, which was upstairs for a reason. Doctors stood on the second floor and watched each person climb the stairs for signs of health problems. The registry room, nearly 20,000 square feet with 56-foot-tall vaulted ceilings, was nicknamed the Great Hall for its size. It was here that most migrants' fate would be decided. The first step to entry was a 6-second physical exam by a uniformed doctor. Anyone considered a risk to public health was marked with a piece of chalk and taken out of the line to be examined further. Marks were given for everything from signs of mental illness to trachoma, a contagious eye infection that could eventually blind up to 3/4 of those infected. Those who cleared the medical exam went on to a legal inspection. Passengers were checked against a manifest from the ship they arrived on and asked 29 identifying questions, often with the help of an interpreter. If their answers didn't match the information on the manifest, things like their name, occupation, and country of origin, they could be detained. The legal interviews could take as little as 2 minutes, and the vast majority of people passed through with ease and were allowed to enter the country after being issued landing cards with their name, often misspelled, and destination. For others, the stay on Ellis Island was considerably longer. The few who were detained for either medical or legal reasons could be on the island overnight or for months. Once their records were finally reviewed, they would either be admitted to the U.S. or sent back to the country they came from, free of charge. But only 2% of the 12 million immigrants processed at Ellis Island were deported in this way. After inspection, everyone continued down a staircase with 3 aisles. Those being detained walked down the center aisle, those entering New York City or headed north walked down the left, and those traveling west or south walked down the right. At the bottom was a post office, a rail ticket office, and a place to change money. For some, family waiting to greet them, and for all, a new life in America.
All right, so a lot of information in that video. Some things that I want to point out was it wasn't always a nice, easy journey, right? They tried to fit as many people in those ships as they could, especially in the steerage, that like third class, that very bottom of the boat. Did you see how crowded some of those tables were? Oh my goodness. Imagine sitting literally shoulder to shoulder with somebody for up to 2 weeks. Imagine sleeping too. You probably had at least two people like on a bed next to each other. Just so crowded. So why would they want to spend 2 weeks on a crowded, probably stinky ship for 2 weeks going across? And probably not smooth sailing either, right? Nice rocky rough. Why would anybody want to do that? They'd pay to do this. Yeah, the video said some people they were being persecuted, so like kind of almost like tracked down and wanted to be arrested or hurt because of what they believe in. So they were being persecuted. Some of them couldn't afford their life, right? They're like, I need a new life. I need a better life. Some of them were too poor in their other country. They're like, I need a chance to have a job. And in America, it was the land of hope. Okay. So they'd come. Now, when they went through the process, not only was the journey of up to 2 weeks on that crowded ship, was it always a nice, quick, easy, I'm in America now? No. Sometimes they'd spend even more days on the ship before they could get off. And then they'd have to go through all the health process and then the legal process. And if you were lucky, you got through that with no problems. But what happened if you weren't lucky? You could get what they said detained, and you would have to stay there, right? And until something got cleared or your ship came to take you back home, another 2 weeks back home. Okay? Some people would be separated from families. Imagine that. You're with your mom or dad, and dad can't walk upstairs very well, but you guys can. They would send you in and detain dad. Imagine how hard that would be for families to be separated like that. Not only in the detainment center, but do you think every family could afford to send their whole family on the ship? No, they couldn't. So they would have to decide who was going to go. Do you know who would usually go first in the family if they had to make that decision? Usually the dad would go first. So he could go over and find a job so they could have a place to live, a nice place to live when the rest of the family came over. And sometimes the dad couldn't even get enough money still to send the whole family. Sometimes things happened and he got sent back. So it was very hard on a lot of people. But they did it just like the video said, just for that chance, for that hope that they can have a better life in America. All right, so we're going to continue reading stories tomorrow and Thursday about immigration. And then on Friday, we will get started with our story. So thanks for joining and learning about immigration, and we'll see you soon.